Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 49 of the NTS Podcast. Lucky this time, unfortunately, not to be joined by my co-host Tom. He's a bit ill, but then we've still got a guest for this week in Tricked Esport top laner. I almost said jungler then. Nille. Nille, how are you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing good. I'm a bit tired today, but overall pretty good.
Good stuff. And we were just talking off kind of off stream. I think people in the stream would have heard us, but just about the actual pronunciation of your name to start with, because something that I wanted to just touch on a little bit, on the episode as well, just to kind of, I feel like kind of get it out there on the record, if you like, how you would pronounce it. Something we'd said just a second ago was like, pretty sure the English classes pretty much all say it, not necessarily wrong, but like I suppose not the right way, if that makes sense. So yeah, how just to say for them on record, what would be the kind of correct way to say it, if you like?
So I guess the correct way would be Nille, but yeah, most people say Nille, so you can use both. Like I don't mind, but I guess Nille is more what I will use.
Yeah, fair enough. That's what we'll try and go with. And yeah, just for anyone that has watched before on previous episodes, they will know that when we have someone on for the first time, we usually go through a bit of like an interview at the start, and maybe go and look back at some of the previous teams you've been on, and have a talk through some of your sort of past experiences. And one thing in particular that I'd seen that you were a part of a couple of years back was like it's like an amateur world championship, the IeSF world championship. And because I remember actually at the time seeing some stuff on Twitter about it, and that was more, I think that was to do with a Swedish team having like some players kicked out. And then when I looked at it, I realized that Taiki for you guys had the same sort of thing, where there was like confusion about which leagues were allowed to play, or like which leagues you could have played in before and stuff like that. But before maybe going into those kind of specifics, just what was that like in general? Because it was in Taiwan, right? So I presume you were like flown out there and everything? Or...
Yeah, I mean the whole experience was pretty nice, just going to a new country, and I've never been to Asia before as well, so it was pretty nice to just get to the country and stuff. I mean the tournament overall wasn't that great, like how it was managed and stuff, but overall it was a really fun trip with some like already good friends for me. Like it was Kehvo and Taiki and the guys, so it was a fun trip with the guys.
Yeah. And because one thing I noticed when I've like kind of looked through some of those like amateur championships before, especially when you look at like the Korean team, like half the team always ends up eventually like in the LCK. And when I was looking through the team that you guys played against, in particular that caught my eye was that the ADC was Gumi Yusi, the one that's like now playing for T1 every week. One thing I want to ask you, because I don't think you can really, well, at least I can't find VODs of it anywhere. Do you remember what Kevo was like against T1's future AD prodigy? Was he alright? Because I think you played against him in like the quarterfinals, right?
Yeah, we played against him in, I think it was quarters as well. So I don't remember that much from like bot lane. I just only remember from like my perspective in the top lane. So it's hard to say. I don't think we got like smashed in bot lane, but just like early game went pretty even against them, and then we just kind of collapsed in the like mid game, and yeah.
Do you reckon it could have been any different if Taiki was playing?
Yeah, I think it would have made a slight difference. I don't think we would have beat them, but like we would have had a better game at least for sure, or like better 2 games.
Yeah. So what was like what was the kind of ruling that they said? Because was it? Am I right in thinking it was like because he played in the TCL or something? But then something like that. Because then I remember seeing when I saw tweets about it with the Swedish team, it was like they'd been told they could play, and then more or less got to the event and were told not to, or told they couldn't. So had he actually got out there already with you guys, and then they told him once he'd already travelled and everything?
Yeah. So like we actually also asked like 2 months or 3 months before the tournament if Taki can play or not, because he played in TCL obviously.
Yeah.
And they were like, yeah, he's fine to play. It's only like LEC and like LCS and stuff like this. But then when we get to the tournament, it's like some team was like, "Oh, these guys are pro players," to the like referees,
Yeah.
and they're like, "Oh yeah, I guess they are," and then like a lot of people couldn't play. It was kind of a
Ridiculous.
fiesta.
Yeah.
So it's kind of weird.
Yeah. Well, maybe that kind of managing is why I don't think they've had another one with League, at least as far as I could see. But never mind. So was it like a beneficial thing overall? Did you feel like playing against like those other countries and people like the Korean teams as well had actually benefited you as a player, or was it just more kind of just a general experience? It was nice to have.
I think it was more for the experience. Like that was nice. That I don't know. I don't think it helped that much for me as a player, like playing the tournament.
Mm-hmm.
So that's more just a fun experience overall.
No,
Just go to the tournament.
fair enough. And I think around that time as well, was that I think while you were playing for Big, right? So it's like kind of in between a couple of splits. And you played for I think for like roughly a year there with them, and you played in Germany a little bit before that as well.
Yeah.
And is it right in saying that that's kind of where your career started to grow? Really, was with a couple of German sides. I think you played like maybe a couple of smaller tournaments before that, but the first proper splits were in the German league. So was there, while you were playing in there, was there ever like a conscious effort to sort of go back to the Nordic leagues, or was it just at the time when you ended up? Because I think it was Copenhagen Flames that you went to after that. Was it just at that time that was just the better offers you had, or was there anything that you chose to play in certain leagues?
I think it was kind of a like weird situation for me on that off season. Like I wasn't sure if I was gonna continue in Big. Like I wasn't sure if they still like want to keep me. It wasn't like 100% certain. So I wasn't maybe that actively looking for a team.
Mm-hmm.
So then it went kind of late in the off season, and a lot of rosters were already finished. So yeah, I didn't really get that good offers that off season. So I ended up in Copenhagen Flames.
Mm-hmm. Never mind. When you kind of look back at the German league when you were in it, do you see that the levels changed a lot to today? Because one thing obviously mainly with like the German league and the French league now is that they obviously get loads of the sort of imported, if you like, from other ERLs. So a lot of the top ERL players will kind of merge over to those leagues. But I was kind of looking back at when you were playing in it and just having a look through the rosters, there wasn't like that many names that really caught my eye, and you could see the vast majority of them were just German players. So there's only part of you that thought maybe it would have been good to try and stay there. I suppose sort of before all of the imports and stuff started to come in, and the level did go up. Maybe your play would have been would have helped from that, or so any thought to sort of go back there and try another time on another team at some point?
Yeah, I mean, when I first joined like the German league, it wasn't that good level yet.
Mm-hmm.
It was like few good teams, like 3 good teams or 2. But the later, like half a year or a year when I played there, like teams got way stronger. Like there was Mouse Sports, like AHQ, ESG was strong. Like they had really good players, and some of them play in LEC now. Like so there was pretty like a lot of talent already then, but yeah, not at the beginning when I joined there.
Fair enough. And yeah, so you kind of played in, for someone that's like at an ARL level still, you've obviously played in a few different places. So you played in like Germany, even that tournament in Taiwan. I think you had a little bit of a spell in the TCL too.
Yeah.
Is that something like, are you someone that sort of likes to travel generally, and it was like ever kind of a conscious effort to try and play in these different places, or it's just something that sort of happened with the offers you had at the time?
No, I mean it just kind of happened, but I really loved like traveling. Like with Big, we traveled like once a month because there were these premier tours that from them you qualify to EU Masters, you get points from those tournaments. So we were traveling to like Germany, like Austria, and like all over Europe. So it was really nice experience for me, but also a bit like exhausting as well.
Yeah.
Like traveling to airport, like it could be like every other week. For me, it was like whole day traveling. So it got a bit exhausting, but overall
Yeah.
it was really nice.
Cool. And is there any like out of the sort of other regional leagues, is there one in particular that you'd potentially like to play in someday, even just like for the certain location of it? Yeah, sort of anywhere else you had in mind?
I mean, LVP would be nice. Like, I think Spain is a cool country and it's warm compared to like Finland. That is like most of the year it's
Slightly,
really
yeah.
cold. So Spain would be nice. I mean, it was kind of same in Turkey. Like the weather was pretty same, so that was pretty cool as well. So yeah, I think I think LFL is the strongest league, like regional league right now. So I guess France would be nice.
Cool.
So
I
I
suppose
would
that's
say
not the worst place to live
LVP.
as well.
Yeah.
Cool. And then sort of going on to the sort of looking towards the start of the NLC then, and when that whole merger happened. So during that off season, was that something you saw the merger and thought that it'd be good to maybe sort of get into that? You obviously, I think you were playing in the Nordics before that, if I remember rightly.
Yeah.
So it kind of made sense if to stick around in the new league. So was there? Do you have a sort of different offers to go for? Or was it once you saw the ENCE roster that was obviously that sort of full Finnish sided? It seemed to make most sense to go there. What was your kind of plans during the off season?
The off season between Singularity and ENCE, or
Yeah.
like, yeah. I mean, I heard about the ENCE project and they asked me if I'm interested, and it felt pretty good at the time. It was like a pretty safe option for me. I didn't need to like go into the off season. Like they asked me kind of before the off season already if I'm interested, and I'm like, yeah, it's a safe option. So in the off season, I don't need to like try out to 10 different teams and go through all of that. So I was like, okay, I think I just go with this. And it was also like Kevo and Sef in the roster. So I was like, they're my good friends. So I was like, it would be nice to play with them. So, and Taiki as well. So
cool. And it was like on paper, especially, was a pretty decent side. Obviously, ended up not quite making it into playoffs. I think there was the potential, I think, to maybe get in ahead of. Oh well, it kind of depended because there was like the whole thing with Mumus, with Nordavind having one of his disconnection games and stuff like that. It was kind of a few weird things around the whole of the playoff situation, and ultimately you ended up only sort of one win away. So it was very, very close. Was there anything sort of looking back on it that you thought there was just sort of a little thing you guys needed, or was there something that you guys had been working on that never quite came to fruition to kind of see that? Because like I say, on the roster especially, it was a decent team, sorry, and you would have thought that if that team had carried on together this split, probably would have still looked quite good. So yeah, was there kind of anything you were working on or wish you guys had done differently to make it into playoffs?
I mean, I think the biggest thing was that we didn't have a coach at all. Like for the whole duration of ENCE, we didn't have a coach. So it was only us players. Like we did everything ourselves pretty much. So yeah, I'm not really sure. I mean, we could have easily gotten into playoffs, but there were some unlucky losses.
Yeah.
We should have won for sure. And yeah, that's pretty much it.
Yeah. Never mind. And how do you reckon you would have done? Because if you'd have got into playoffs, it would have been, I think, against either Barrage or Munster, who Munster, I think, eventually lost to Nordavind, and then Barrage beat Godsent. Do you think you would have fancied yourselves against either of those? Because I think it would have come down to like a tiebreaker to see which one you would have ended up against. But yeah, do you reckon you could have made a deep run if you guys did sort of just scrape it in?
Yeah, I mean, at the time I felt like we were a lot better than Godsent, but I'm not sure if we would have done well in playoffs, to be honest. Yeah, I don't think that we would have done that well, to be honest.
Never mind.
But I felt like we were better than Godsent.
Yeah.
But obviously they got to playoffs and we didn't, so that's the thing.
Yeah. Well, after that though, it kind of looked from the outside looking in like the roster was sticking together mainly because when the sort of roster news were coming out, and even just sort of hearing some rumours, you didn't really hear of any of the ENCE players going anywhere, and hadn't seen any announcements of players leaving, until obviously the announcement from ENCE that they weren't actually going to take part in the league anymore, and everything was kind of disbanded. And it, from the sort of as an outsider, it's almost even looked like it was that that last minute their decision to do it, and maybe it's connecting dots that don't exist, but it was like right after the whole stuff about Munster got leaked and the payment issues and stuff, and it some of us had guessed that it could even be if maybe the ENCE had thought about maybe leaving the league, and then they saw this come out and thought, okay, no, that's definitely it, and sort of just disbanded everything. In which case, obviously, it would have been very last minute. So I just wanted to maybe get some insight as to from a player's perspective that was in that team, if at least you did have any kind of prior warning, or whether it was pretty much as sudden as it was for everybody else. So what was it like from the inside of that? Did they give you any inclination that you might end up a free agent, or did it literally just sort of maybe read the news article like the rest of us?
No, I mean, like, actually we all thought that we would be staying in ENCE and continue to the next split. So like we all took like a 1 month break or something from solo queue as well, so we didn't play the game at all because we thought we can just take a break because there's nothing to play for like 2 months. So we were just kind of chilling, and then ENCE just out of the blue, like there was no like I don't know, it just came suddenly. They're like, oh yeah, we're gonna drop the team, and yeah, you're free agents now. And we're like, well, that sucks. That sucks a bit. It was like just pretty late in the off season as well.
Yeah.
Like when they told us, and I think they like knew like 1 week at least before they told us that they were not gonna continue. So they kind of told us late. There was also a thing that we couldn't make even LFT tweets because they want to announce it first, and it took like a couple of days as well.
Jesus.
So it was kinda not managed that well, that situation. So kinda sucked for us.
Yeah, because when I remember like seeing the announcement come out, and obviously realizing then that you could kind of tell, obviously, the fact that no one had done an LFT tweet, and I went and even double checked. I kind of went on a few of your you guys' Twitters just to see if maybe I just missed them, because that was another thing as well. Obviously, I'd seen no one do a looking for team tweets, so that's also part of the reason it looked like you guys were sticking together. So I sort of went back and looked, and I think it was Kevo's account that I went and checked, and then as I checked it, like 2 minutes before I checked, he'd done an LFT tweet, and I thought from there you could obviously tell you guys had more or less no idea as well. When that happened, then did you even expect to get on a roster? Because like you said, it was very late in the day, and I think there was I don't think anything was announced yet, but there was definitely rumors going around of some rosters that were more or less finished already, which you can expect after a couple of weeks off season already. So did you expect to get on a team, or did you think maybe you'd have to go to a different league and maybe a slightly smaller one, or what were your thoughts going into it?
I mean, I knew for sure that I would get a team, but maybe not the best one. Like I had some decent offers, like I got a lot of NLC offers after that, but yeah, I mean, I knew that we would all get in a team at least, so wasn't that bad in the end. So
nice, that's good then. I think most of you guys, did sort of get offers elsewhere at least. Kevo and Seth obviously even stayed together. So when I saw that some of you are at least still in the NLC, it gave me a bit more relief, I suppose. Than if no one had got teams, that would have just been sort of so bang out of order, really. But never mind. Obviously, with that, you ended up on the Tricked roster. So was it being that you were the one that joined quite late? Had the roster been more or less completed except for yourself, or was there still a fair few bits? Did you have an idea of what the roster would look like before you joined?
Yeah, I think top. I mean, jungle, mid, and AD were already decided. It was only top lane and support, I think, that they were tryouting still. So yeah.
So obviously that was the team as well. And on paper, looked pretty good, and when the tier list and everything came out, you were pretty highly rated. So I suppose, having most of the roster filled out already, kind of had an idea that you were joining a decent team. And was Van Datto already sort of locked in as the coach then? I presume. I guess he would have had a hand in putting that team together.
Yeah, I think Vendetta was there from the start. He picked the roster pretty much himself. So yeah.
Did he sort of play a part in you joining as well? Because obviously he's had success with Godsent, and before that, when you were on Singularity, I think he was the Vipers coach at that point, and the one that I think they would even run the regular season. You guys just beat him in the playoffs. So is that someone have you? I don't know. Maybe if you've been on a team before, or is someone that you kind of wanted to work with?
No, actually, I didn't know anything about Vendetta, or I didn't really know anyone from the team as well. But the plans Vendetta had and how we practice and how we function sounded really good. Like more try hard than other teams. So that was what I really wanted.
Yeah.
So it was pretty easy decision to join the team.
Cool, fair enough. And like I said, obviously, everyone sort of picked you guys to be among sort of the top in your group at least. And obviously, so far you are obviously doing really well. Joint with ENCE at the moment. I think that's the only team that's beaten you, isn't it? It was ENCE.
Yeah.
So kind of how do you rate the split so far? Do you think those performances are sort of as good as they should be, or was the ENCE game one that you thought you could have done better? Because obviously, most people, I imagine being on the team, you would expect yourselves to be able to beat them. That was obviously, I imagine, would be the goal, would be to beat any team. But for just general viewers and fans, seeing you guys just below ENCE would make sense. You think, okay, Tricked are still doing well. ENCE, the academy, they should be first anyway. But yeah, how much do you think you can sort of challenge against ENCE and maybe Fnatic in the playoffs later on? Was that a game that you think you could have done better, or do you think it was sort of kind of expected that they were able to beat you?
No, actually, I think we were really confident going into the game, and it was pretty close. And we watched their previous games, and EXCEL and Fnatic. I mean, Fnatic played first 2 games with a sub, but EXCEL didn't look that strong. That everyone thinks that the academy teams will just roll over everyone else. And this split it has been way closer between the academy teams and the other top teams. So it's definitely always winnable against anyone. So that's pretty nice.
Arome obviously dropped down from the LEC to play for EXCEL. Was that something when you saw it that you was maybe even a bit excited? Obviously, seeing someone that we'll be honest, he is LEC caliber. He was not exactly bad in the LEC when he was playing there. Was that something where you saw it? Was maybe a bit of even motivation to think that when you play against him, if you can show yourself against him, 1 versus 1 in the lane, it could maybe even help for LEC teams that may be watching him to see, if Nille is beating Arome in the NLC, maybe we're watching the wrong guy. So is there a bit of motivation seeing him drop down to I don't know, not necessarily try to solo kill him or anything, but just to sort of show that you're on his level?
Yeah, for sure. It gave more motivation. I was very looking forward to facing him and proving myself that I'm also one of the best top laners. So definitely gave more motivation overall for me.
Yeah, and saying that you want to show yourself as one of the best top laners. I saw a couple of people. I think it was Cammy from Nordavind. I saw Mikma as well did one, but they did a mid-season tier list. Was that something? Well, I don't know if you would have seen them. I don't know if as a player you'd maybe pay too much attention to them, but they put you right among the top laners in the league. Is that something that is nice to see, that kind of validation, or maybe do you prefer sort of not to listen to it, just to, in case you could get complacent or anything like that?
I mean, for me, it's for sure nice to see. This split has been my best in a long time. Best split in 2 years, I would say. I've had really solid performances and I've been putting in a lot of work. and yeah, it's nice to see that other people are noticing it as well.
Mm-hmm. Definitely, that's good. So how do you see the rest of the regular season going, at least then? Because really, from that group, EXCEL is probably the only team that you would expect. Well, that a viewer at least, maybe you wouldn't, but a viewer would expect to beat you guys. So what's kind of the aim? Is it to just keep it up for now, or are you going for the 6-0 for the sort of second half? Oh well, I suppose we're partly into the second half now, are we? So you'd have, so you got another 4 games. So I suppose the aim would be to sort of win all of those, is it?
Yeah, for sure. Our aim is to get first place in our group. So this week we want to beat EXCEL and Nordavind. Those are the toughest games,
Yeah.
I guess. I will assume so.
On
for
the
sure,
topic
look
of that,
to win all.
on the topic of that, do you still see Nordavind as like the next best side against the academies? Because again, on paper, like with the the original tier list and everything, they would always have, it would be EXCEL and then maybe Nordavind ahead and then you guys just behind, or sort of you and Nordavind as the ones just behind EXCEL. And obviously, it's not looked like that at all. Nordavind haven't looked anywhere near as we'd expect. They did, funnily enough, beat EXCEL this week, which is obviously not no one saw that being on the cards. But do you still see them as sort of the next best side? Obviously, in the table, it's Granit, but they just went 0-2, and it maybe looks like the wheels are falling off for them a little bit. So yeah, kind of with Nordavind first, do you still see them as being one of the stronger sides? Do you think they'll turn it around a bit more, or So what are your thoughts on them?
Yeah, I mean, their first games, they didn't do really well. Like, yeah, they looked pretty weak. But I think for these last games, they will look stronger, and I think they might be like the third strongest team in the group. So I think they will turn it around a bit. But yeah.
Yeah, and it's kind of to be expected, I guess. With the roster that they had, you would hope, or you'd imagine that eventually it would sort of start to come around. So and they're, I think, joint with Godsent now on wins at least, so still well within a playoff chance. But mentioned there as well with Granit. Obviously, Granit, it looked sort of really good in the first couple of weeks, and you maybe got the idea that one or two of their wins were maybe flukes, but then they won a couple more games, and it looked like they were actually pretty good. And then this week, or the last week, they lost to yourselves and to Godsent. Do you see that they've maybe been sort of found out now? Was there like a particular thing you guys thought when you played them that just if we do this one thing, then they're we'll actually show that they're not as good as everyone thinks, or not as good as they're showing? Because one thing I'd sort of joked about on episode before was like, just ban Victor, because it was like everyone kept giving Victor to Sahira, and it was like clearly changing games with it. So was there even something as simple as that, or just maybe banning his couple of main champs, or what was the kind of game plan against them?
I mean, we looked at their games and we knew that they weren't that strong. I think they were kind of overhyped, like looking at their gameplay. So we were like really confident that we will just smash them easily. But yeah, we did like ban the Victor and Rice that Sahira has been playing, like only those 2 champs, and I think it was the correct decision. He didn't look that like confident on the Orianna, so I think it was a good game plan for us.
Yeah. Well, it'll be interesting to see how it goes for them, because that's what I would imagine, especially after you guys did it. I would think that everyone would just ban it against them now, because it seemed to be, I suppose it's one of those things you kind of hear about with some players, where it's like, it may be, for example, the Victor may be his comfort pick, but then as another mid laner that doesn't see Victor as being in the meta, they'll say to the coach, it's fine, he's had a couple of good games, but I can play against it, it'll be all right, because obviously you've got everyone's got the confidence that they'll be the one that can sort of shut him down. And I guess maybe that's the reason teams kept giving it to him. And it looks like you guys kind of did the smart thing and just banned him out, and like you said, he didn't really have that much of an impact. So we'll go into some predictions later, and maybe sort of talk about how we expect the rest of their games to go. But then, sort of the only team we haven't talked about in your group just yet, at least, is Dusty, who are still at the bottom, but did last week get their first win. Nordavind's week was so weird. Obviously, they started off losing to Dusty, who hadn't had a win at that point, and then obviously beat XL afterwards. But I think with Dusty, like, that's another team on paper that kind of like Nordavind, that their team doesn't look too bad, and you wouldn't expect them to be quite where they are at the moment. Are they one sort of like Nordavind that you expect them to start looking better, or do you think they are actually maybe not as good as everyone kind of thinks they should have been?
I mean, we also played like a really close game against Dusty last week, I think, and we should have pretty much lost it, I think. But I think they've looked stronger now. They got Legions in, and they've looked stronger. I think they will be the fourth playoff team, in my opinion. So I think they will turn it around as well.
Who do you think would be? So I imagine you think UKL and then Dusty, and who was the last one you think would get in? Do you think Nordavind would sort of sneak it ahead of Granit in the end?
Yeah, I think Nordavind will be fourth.
All right, we'll keep that to you then. That's a bold prediction. If just looking at the table at least, obviously, like we said, the teams probably should be better than they've been playing, but yeah, we'll see what happens. Just looking at a little bit of Group B, obviously, I know a lot of players don't maybe watch the other groups so much since you're not playing against them at the moment. But Group B's almost got like a bit of a parallel to Group A in that you've got the academy team, first place right now, as everyone expects. But then again, there's another team as well that's right now even on wins, kind of like you guys are, which is Team Singularity, and they're kind of almost like the tricked of Group B, if you like maybe the ones that people thought they'd be quite good, but not necessarily challenging the academy side in their group. How do you think you guys would stack up against Singularity in particular at the moment? So if we imagine in playoffs tomorrow you had to play against them, where do you think kind of your level is against theirs? Or do you think maybe one group slightly easier makes one team look a bit better? Do you think it's relatively even or a bit more one-sided?
I mean, I think it will be pretty close between us. I mean, can't really say, I've never played against them, but looking at their games, I think it will be pretty close. But I also think teams like the bottom tier teams in Group B are worse than in Group A. So it's easier to look better against them, maybe.
Mm-hmm. Fair enough. And just maybe on the topic of just sort of top laners in particular, is there anyone that you've maybe been sort of surprised with, even that you've played against so far? Because I think one thing with this season where we've seen maybe a lot of players leave and go to other leagues is that there is maybe more so than there was in the summer last year, kind of a bigger disparity, if you like, between the sort of top end and bottom end players. You do get it does seem like there's a few more players that kind of is a bit of a bigger gap between them and likes of in top laners like yourselves and a Rome. So is there anyone that at least you've been sort of surprised with that maybe you didn't expect to be that good and have been pretty tough against in lane at least?
I mean Kerberos, I knew he was like pretty good laner, so like Kerb was pretty good on lane, I felt like. I don't think any other like top laner has really impressed me from our group who I played against. Like Orome was expected to do like fine, like at least go even and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think there's anyone really who impressed me. Like people were hyping up Thomas from Granit.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's had pretty good games as well, but yeah, against me he didn't really do much. But that's also because they gave him a pretty bad pick against me, so that's also a factor. But yeah, I don't think there's anyone who has really impressed me so far.
Well, is there anyone in Group B then that you're kind of looking forward to going ahead? In playoffs potentially.
I think Mumus for sure. Like I think Mumus is a pretty smart player and like a stable player. So I'm looking forward to playing against him if we will meet in playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
We will see.
Cool. And then I suppose the last thing on kind of the current split at the moment, what is I imagine I could probably guess your answer, but what would be the aim for playoffs? I would guess maybe at least to sort of get to EU Masters, or is it something where you sort of, is there any hesitance with having like a goal like that, with obviously there being only 2 spots and there being 2 academy teams, or is it something you think could be realistic for you guys?
Yeah, I mean that has been our goal. Like before the split even started, like we are aiming for top 2 for sure. So, and we have played some really good games so far. So I think it's really realistic to finish in top 2 and get to EU Masters. So I'm pretty confident in that.
Cool. Especially if you can, like if you obviously right now you are level on wins with Excel, and I suppose if you win the remainder of your games, obviously then beating them, that would mean you're guaranteed first, and obviously that would be much more easier for playoffs. So at least it's one of those where it's like in your own hands as well, which is obviously good. Yeah, kind of in control of your own destiny, if you like. Well, that's if Singularity don't top Group B, because I'm thinking of the side. Obviously, it'd be good to get first, because I think you're probably more likely to be against Singularity then if they're second. But you never know; it could end up neither academy side taking a first seed, which would be pretty crazy. Even maybe it's maybe a bit more optimistic. But is there anyone sort of, if you were to get on EU Masters, sort of any player, top laner or otherwise, just throughout the RLs right now that you think you'd really like the opportunity to play against?
I mean, for me, I guess there's Sleeping in UOL, like he's Finnish as well, so it's also kind of like maybe a little rivalry. Rival. I can't say that word,
Rivalry,
but
yeah.
yeah, I mean, not maybe for him, but for me, it would be nice to play against him because being Finnish as well. So
yeah, exactly. Oh, cool. We'll see if it happens then. Let's maybe go into some predictions for the next week. I've picked out a couple of games per day, so we won't go through every single one because it will just take too long, I think, and be a bit boring. So I picked out a couple of games that I think are interesting for us to maybe have a talk through each day. And if anyone wants to know what we'd predict for the other games that we don't talk about, you can watch out on Twitter because we'll have some more predictions coming out over there. But yeah, I've just picked out a couple of games per day then, and starting on day 1, and these are a couple of teams we haven't actually spoken about yet, but M&M against Riddle. And there's something, you obviously said that Group B does look like the teams at the bottom maybe are, well, if you like, sort of worse than the teams at the bottom in Group A. You would imagine Nordavind at least would probably fancy themselves over both of these teams. They're obviously in sort of roughly the same position. And those are 2 teams that are really struggling. Both only got 1 win so far, but then because the bottom end of Group B have generally lost most of their games, they're both 1 win away from being in playoffs, which is pretty crazy. So yeah, a win for either side could sort of push them up into that place. Have you watched much of those guys, or do you more just sort of focus on sort of Fnatic and Singularity's games?
yeah, I mean, I watched some of their games. Yeah, both have looked pretty bad. So, but I think Riddle should have the upper hand over Eminem. Like Eminem has been looking like the worst of the worst. Like, so yeah, I think Riddle, if they pull themselves together, they have some decent players. So they should be able to make it happen.
Well, let's see then. I'm gonna go for Eminem, just because we do one thing we actually do. I don't know if you've seen previous episodes, but we like count up the prediction scores week by week, with the guests all just being added up together. And I'm in the lead by a few wins at the moment, so I've got a few to spare, so I can do a few more sort of spicy picks. So I'm going to go for Eminem, being that they're one of the UK orgs as well, and I would like to see their fortunes change at some point. So why not now? So yeah, I'll go for Eminem. But then the other game that I picked out is yourselves Tricked against Nordavind, who before last week I think anyone would say it was easily yours to win. But then obviously Nordavind, their last game, they did just beat Excel, so you think their confidence could be on a high. at the same time, they lost to Dusty last week, so maybe their confidence is still just somewhere in the middle. So it's a really weird one. Like we said, they had a very strange week. Do you see that they could maybe put up much of a fight, or do you think you just sort of bring them back down to reality?
No, I mean, like in my opinion, like the Nordavind Excel game was more like Excel having like huge errors and not so much Nordavind doing like really great stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we will still beat Nordavind this week, so I'm confident on.
Yeah. Oh, are you there? I think I might have lost you for a second. Okay, I think we're back. I think it's okay. Yeah, I hadn't presumed that you would vote against yourself, but I just wanted to kind of get your thoughts on the matchup at least. I'm not just saying it to annoy you. I'm going to go for Nordavind again, kind of because I've got a few wins to spare. And I think Paulson might be watching in the chat as well. So I don't want to upset you guys, the Trick team, too much. But I'll go for Nordavind just to be a bit different. But we'll see. I wouldn't be very surprised to be wrong and for you guys to make me miss a point on that one. One then that I picked out for day 2, if we move on to those, is Granit against XL, which could maybe be a spicy one. Obviously, Granit right now, having had an 0-2 week, it might be that everyone's going to sort of underestimate him again now. Now that everyone sees them lose a couple of games and might think, oh well, there you go, they're actually not very good, and maybe XL get a bit overconfident and leave the Rise or the Victor open. So do you see a world where XL get upset a second game in a row and Granit come back, or do you think it should be one that's easily XL's?
Was it Granit against XL? You cut out a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think XL will just win. Yeah, I don't think. I mean, last time they played, it was a bit close, but I think XL will just win. They will pull themselves together.
Yeah.
And just win it, I think.
Yeah, I'm not going for a spicy one this time. I'm going to go XL. I think that's the much more sensible option. But I hope at least maybe they'll just let Sahira have one of his champs, at least so we can make it entertaining and see him put up a fight. So we'll see how that one goes. And then another one that I've gone for on that day is another sort of relegation scrap almost. Riddle again, and this time they're against Kova. So Riddle have got actually a really good week for them to actually sort of try and turn things around essentially. And if they were to win 2 games and get them up to 3 wins, then they're like quite more safely in playoffs. Whereas right now they're literally dead last. So yeah, really important week for them. How do you rate Kova against Riddle and M&M? You said obviously Riddle and M&M you haven't seen too much from really. Kova right now are only 1 win ahead in the standings, but then do you see the play being that much better, or sort of how do you think that one could go?
I mean, I've watched quite a lot of Kova games, like almost all of them, I guess. And I mean, they usually play lanes like fine, and then there are like big problems. Like they should have more wins than they have right now. Like they should have won like 2 more games, but they had like huge errors on decision making, like mid-late game, that cost them to lose.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, if they fix those problems, I think they're looking like quite strong. So I think Kova will win it if they improve a bit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think so as well. I've gone for Kova, and especially one thing with them that we've kind of spoken about, on some previous episodes, is where they've kind of kept most of their team together from last split as well, which really should help at least for them, to be able to progress. Really, and it should be something they should be able to sort of build on, having a bit of like a core group of players to start with. So that may help. Obviously, the longer you spend with certain players, you'll know sort of what they react to. You'll know how to communicate better and things like that. And you think that should help with, if they've got any problems, they'll at least know how is best to go about fixing them if they've been together for a while. You would think anyway. So I would just kind of expect them as getting the 4th playoff spot in that group. I wouldn't see realistically Riddle or M&M coming back to get that. Would you agree with that? Do you think Cova would be the team to get the last playoff place in Group B, or do you see a world where Riddle or M&M do sort of come back and nick it?
No, I mean, I'm pretty certain that they will get the playoff spot if they don't like choke now hard. So I think they're looking strong enough to get the last playoff spot.
Yeah.
Like compared to the Riddle and Eminem, who have looked like really bad.
Yeah.
Kova has at least shown like some good stuff. So I think they will be able to make it.
Yeah. One thing I'll say, I think this is like a huge game for them too, because just looking at the rest of their matches, they've got this game against Riddle, and then the remaining games are Fnatic, Singularity, and Barrage, which you wouldn't really expect them to beat any of those on current form at least. So beating Riddle would definitely be very helpful. Otherwise, going 0-4, if they were to go 0-4, obviously kind of leaves it open for Eminem and Riddle to get in there and steal it. So we'll see. A massive game. I'm going to go for Cova as well. Like I said, I think they've looked better so far. So we'll see how it goes. And then one I picked out for day 3 then is Dusty against Granit, who kind of both, we've talked about both of them so far. But like we said, obviously Granit, one that maybe is sort of starting to slip up a bit, and Dusty, a team that have started quite weak, but then have looked better last week and look like they're maybe sort of finally coming around. So how do you see that one going? Would you think Dusty will sort of continue their turnaround, or do you think Granit sort of being ahead so far that they might still be looking a bit better? How would you see that one going?
I think Dusty will win it. Like, they've been looking better. Like last week they looked better than before. So, and Granit has, I mean, against us they got like completely stomped. But I think Dusty will win that. It might be close, but I think in the end, like, Dusty will win it.
Cool. I'm going to go for Granit on that one. I think, it's a tricky one because, like I said, it's like kind of one team that's maybe, they've obviously started at opposite ends, and one is slightly coming down, one is slightly going up, and it's, kind of hard to tell exactly where they kind of meet in the middle right now. That'd be an interesting one. I'm going to go for Granit, but I wouldn't be too surprised to see Dusty win it, really, especially like we said, they beat Nordavind and didn't look too bad against yourselves either. So we'll see how it comes out. And then the last one, we've got yourselves against BTXL. And I went for Nordavind to beat you earlier. I'm going to try and sort of get back in the good books with this one. I'm going to go for you guys over Excel because, just why not, really? There's I don't know. It hasn't looked like there's really a big difference between you guys and them so far. Like you said, the game you had against them, weren't exactly stomped or anything like that. And Excel have dropped a game to Nordavind, and the way I see it is if Nordavind can beat them, you guys can as well. So I'm going to go for Tricked. I presume you're going to go for yourselves as well.
I mean, obviously. I mean, I think it will come down to the draft a lot. Like, I think the skill is not that big of a difference, so I think the draft will make most of the difference in that game. So, but I'm really confident going into that game.
Yeah. Do you think you see Vendetto having the draft diff then against Swiffer, or you see how it goes?
I hope so.
We'll see. What do you think of? Well, actually, I'm not sure what patch it will be on. Would it have changed by then to the new patch, or do you know?
I think this upcoming week we still play with 11.2, so it's not the new patch yet.
Okay. And what do you think of the top lane meta at the moment then for this upcoming week at least? Because it's still still seeing sort of a lot of the sort of Gnar, Renekton, that kind of thing, and I see people like, especially with Gnar, like people saying that it's good, and then people on Twitter complaining when it gets first picked or when it gets blind picked and stuff, and I'm just kind of sitting there like I don't understand if it's meant to be actually a good pick or not still. What are your thoughts on that and kind of the top lane meta in general at the moment?
I mean, I'm really liking the top lane meta right now. Like, Bruisers are my favorite champs to play, so I enjoy Renekton, Gnar, Camille, and some other picks as well. So it's definitely more fun than playing Sion Ornn every game. So there's also like you can have more impact and actually show how good you are. Because usually when it's the tank meta, it's like both tops just don't really do anything.
Yeah.
It's just really boring to play as well. So I think this meta is really fun, and I think it really suits me, and that's why I'm doing so well as well.
Do you reckon the Moonstaff meta would take over in the end? Have you practiced any Ivan?
Well, can't say much about that, but if it does come meta, then I'm sure I can play it. I can play any style and think so. For sure.
Well, we'll see then. I think with that we can sort of start to maybe bring the episode to a close. Was there anything you wanted to touch on, or any kind of anything you wanted to talk about in particular?
Not really. I think we've talked about a lot of stuff already, so
fair enough, no worries.
Nothing really in my mind right now. So.
Cool. So then maybe one last question. What are kind of the aims sort of for the future of your career, if you like, then? Do you sort of see yourself one day maybe sort of pushing into the LEC? Is that the aim? I kind of presume for most ERL players that's sort of the end goal, but do you see yourself making a claim at that level at some point?
No, I mean, that's always been my dream to play in the LEC. Like last few years, I've not been that maybe motivated. I don't want to say motivated. Like I've always kind of been motivated, but not like this motivated that I'm right now. And I'm putting in much more effort than I have before. And yeah, I think if I keep on doing that and keep at it, then it's for sure possible, in my opinion.
Well, like we said, Arome is seen as LEC level, and you haven't really looked particularly not like far off it, or haven't looked sort of below his level so far, at least from what we've seen in regular season. So good luck to you, and when you get there, we'll get you back on for an episode as well, so we can leech off it. Okay, cool. With that then, just before we end up, we have a very quick look at the current UKEL standings. Obviously, we are hosted by the UKEL in the sort of LEC pyramid, LEC in the NLC pyramid. So let's just have a look before we finish then at the current table after yesterday's games. We still do have Demise at the top, still unbeaten as well, and I think I saw Sin whip out the Kai'Sa top again. That's one to ask you actually, Nille. Demise Academy, their top laner, has played a few Kai'Sa top games, and I'm pretty sure with just TP and Ignite, not even with Flash. Is that something you've seen before? Or do you think that's a chance we'll see that in the meta, or how would you play against that? Because it seems like he's won every game on it as well. I
mean, the idea, just when I picture it in my head, it looks so int. Like if you die to one gank, like it's kind of same with like Kalista top was briefly in the meta kinda, like the Shy bringing it out. And I just think that like if you die to one gank, you're just out of the game, and you can't really recover with a pick like that.
Especially with no flash as well.
Yeah, I mean, especially if you don't have flash. So, I mean, I don't think it should be that strong. Like if people just know to punish it, like it's kind of with a lot of range stops. If you punish them, they're like kind of useless.
Yeah.
So just punishing them.
Well, there you go then. UKEL teams, take note, just gank it early. And that should be it, hopefully. Cool. So then let's have a quick look then at the upcoming games as well that we've got for next week. So week 4 kicks off this Thursday at 6 p.m. GMT, and that starts with Munster against Lucendi. Munster picked up a win now, but still on their own at the bottom of the table. So obviously a huge game for them. And then we've got a mid-table clash, Viperio against Nerd Rage, both on 3-3. So obviously, either team could sort of make a bit of a lead, really, if you like. There's a lot of teams still on 3-3 in the middle. All of those will be looking to sort of break free of that. Another team on 3-3 is Mythos, and they're against Demise Academy, looking to be the first team to take them down. So there you go, Mythos guys. Gank it early if you let the Kaiser through, and hopefully that will help. And then lastly, we've got another mid-table clash, Hive against London. Both those on 3-3 too. And again, amongst that pack that we'll be looking to sort of break out, if you like, and start challenging Demise at the top. And yeah, with that then, that will bring the episode to a close. So thank you for coming on, Nille. I hope you've enjoyed it, and good luck with the rest of the split. I hope to see you guys challenging the academies, because I think it's really important as well. With the only the 2 Master spots right now, I think it's crucial that the other top teams do challenge them. Kind of for 2 reasons really. Obviously, firstly, so it doesn't put everyone off. If the 2 academy teams just wipe everyone, then no one will bother joining the league, because it just looks like you're not going to get got no chance for Masters. But I think it also helps just the general competition. Even if they are the ones that get to Masters, at least you guys giving them a run for their money is hopefully going to make them play better at Masters, win it, and get another spot, and you'll get in it next time as the 3rd seed at least. So yeah, I think it's really important. So yeah, I hope you guys keep going, and look forward to seeing you in the playoffs. And
yeah, for sure.
Good stuff. And with that then, thanks for watching. Anyone that's still watching live on Twitch, you can of course follow the UKEL on there. We are live here every Sunday at 4 PM GMT. Otherwise, if you're watching later on YouTube or Spotify, you can follow there too. You can follow myself and Nille both directly on Twitter as well. Our Twitters are on the screen. And yeah, that's about it. Thanks for listening.